The bank smelled of old coffee and disinfectant, the kind that clings to your coat long after you leave. Ramon stood in line, envelope in hand, shoulders square, but heart heavy. Years of sacrifice were folded into that brown paper, rides skipped, meals missed, birthdays forgotten, all for Louisa's surgery. When his number blinked on the screen, he approached the counter. The teller, Mark, didn't look up right away. Just a glance, then a smirk. Strange, the chauffeur with that kind of money. Ramon froze. "I've been saving for my wife's surgery," he said softly. Mark tapped keys slowly, eyes scanning Ramon like a security risk. "Do you have proof of where it came from?" Whispers grew behind him. Ramon didn't answer. He just reached for his envelope, for his ID, for what little pride he had left. Outside, Keanu was waiting. Ramon sat in silence. Keanu looked over once, said nothing, but he knew. The car hummed beneath them, the city drifting by unnoticed. Ramon gripped the wheel, knuckles pale, eyes fixed ahead, but his thoughts were far from the road. In the rearview mirror, Keanu watched, still silent but listening. The words came slowly. "He looked at me like I didn't belong there, like the envelope wasn't mine." Ramon didn't look back, like I was stealing from a life I wasn't meant to have. His voice cracked on the last word. Keanu leaned forward slightly, elbows on knees, not to interrupt, just to be closer. It wasn't the first time. Years ago, younger and just as tired, Ramon had walked into a different bank. He wore the same white shirt, the same careful smile. But the manager refused to cash a check without a second ID, one he didn't have. Ramon had gone home without groceries that day. He never told Louisa. And then there was Jose, a fellow driver, fired after standing up for a passenger who was verbally attacked for speaking Spanish. The company said it wasn't about race. Everyone knew it was. But not all moments were cruel. A nurse once left a note tucked under the passenger seat. "Thanks for those 3 a.m. drives. You helped me finish nursing school." He'd kept it folded in his wallet ever since. Inside the car, Keanu said nothing. His stillness wasn't passive, it was building. At a stoplight, the silence cracked again. "What was his name?" Keanu asked. Ramon hesitated, unsure if saying it made things worse or better. "Mark." "Just that." Keanu nodded slowly. Not a dramatic gesture, just the kind of motion that carried weight when words felt cheap. He leaned back in his seat, gaze steady on the streets ahead. His fingers tapped a slow rhythm against his knee. It wasn't anger. It was something older, deeper. They continued in silence. Somewhere across town, in a quiet office, a bank staffer lowered her voice over coffee. "You know this isn't the first complaint, but it never sticks." No one replied. An older woman from the bank line told her daughter later that evening. "He didn't deserve that. You could see it on his face. He didn't say much. That's how I knew it hurt." Back in the car, Keanu finally spoke. Calm. Clear. "We're stopping somewhere before the meeting." Ramon glanced at him. "Where to, sir?" Keanu's reply was soft but firm. "The bank." The next morning, the same bank door slid open, but this time the man walking in didn't hesitate. Keanu Reeves, dressed in black jeans and a plain shirt, entered without fanfare. No entourage, no sunglasses, just presence. The room noticed. The security guard straightened. A teller blinked twice. Phones were drawn, subtle but quick. Everyone knew his face, but no one knew why he was here. He approached the front desk calmly. "Good morning. I'd like to be assisted by Mark." The receptionist paused, caught off guard. "Mark, I'll wait," Keanu said, his voice low but resolute. Moments later, Mark stepped forward, clipboard in hand, still unaware. Then he saw the face. His jaw stiffened. "Mr. Reeves. What an honor. How can I help you?" Keanu smiled politely. "I'm here to make a deposit, and to ask a question." The air changed. Conversations halted. Phones lifted. Mark's eyes darted across the room, trying to gauge the situation. Keanu stepped a little closer. Calm, steady, surgical. "Would you have treated a man in a suit the same way you treated the one with that envelope?" Mark froze. His fingers tightened around the clipboard. A drop of sweat rolled past his temple. I follow procedure," he offered weakly. That envelope, Keanu continued, voice flat as stone, was years of sacrifice, not a transaction, a life's work. You judged him without knowing him. That ends today. A hush overtook the lobby. The only sounds were the soft whirs of recording phones and the uneven breath of a man unraveling. Behind the glass doors, Ramon stood. He hadn't planned to come inside. He didn't want confrontation, just closure. But now he watched. Not with anger, not with revenge, with quiet vindication, a dignity that didn't need volume. Keanu reached into his jacket and gently placed the envelope on the counter. This is what he came to deposit. This is what you dismissed. Mark stared at it, but didn't move. He couldn't. His hands shook. Keanu didn't shout. He didn't gloat. He turned slightly, eyes scanning the crowd. He's not just my driver, he said, voice louder now enough to echo. He's my friend. No one clapped. Not right away. It wasn't a performance. But something shifted. A slow realization. A ripple of acknowledgement. Then, from the back, someone began to clap. Soft, then louder. The sound spread, not for celebrity, but for justice finally seen. And Ramon, still at the door, finally stepped inside. 3 days had passed since the silence in the bank turned into something louder than applause. Ramon hadn't spoken about it much. Not to Louisa, not even to Keanu. But the weight of that moment stayed with him, tucked between memory and disbelief. On the 4th day, someone knocked at the door. Not loud, just enough to be heard. Mark stood there, hands trembling, holding a plain white envelope. No branding, no stamps, just his name written in careful ink. I didn't come to defend myself, Mark said, just to admit something I never told anyone. Ramon didn't speak. He waited. My father was a chauffeur. Mark continued, voice breaking. I hated that growing up. I hated him for being invisible. And somehow, I became the man who would have humiliated him. He held out the letter. I didn't see you. I saw my shame. I'm sorry. Ramon took the envelope, but didn't open it yet. He looked at the man in front of him, red-eyed, human, broken open. After a beat, he stepped aside. Come in. 2 men. 1 kitchen table. Steam rising from 2 cups of tea. No more performances, just stories shared. That week, the bank announced the launch of a new initiative, Empathy in Practice. Mandatory training. Real stories. No PR spin. Just truth. Ramon didn't ask to be involved, but when they offered, he said only, if it helps someone else be seen, use it. Keanu, approached by media outlets, declined every interview. This isn't a movie, he told a journalist outside his home. It's someone's life, and lives deserve more than headlines. Months later, in a modest auditorium, Ramon sat beside Louisa as their daughter crossed the graduation stage, now a registered nurse. As the crowd erupted in cheers, she scanned the rows until she found them. Just behind them, in the very last seat, half hidden beneath a hoodie and sunglasses, Keanu nodded. She smiled. Before the applause stopped, he was gone. Ramon returned home that evening to find another letter. Slipped under the door. Same handwriting. I'm going to therapy. It read, not to erase what I did, but to understand it. You reminded me of my father. That terrified me. But now, I'm learning. Ramon folded it gently and placed it in a drawer next to his daughter's first drawing and a note from Louisa. Thank you for never giving up on us. And then, one quiet Sunday, Ramon saw him again, Keanu, walking past in silence. Hoodie up, hands in his pockets. Ramon raised a hand. Keanu paused, nodded. Sometimes a quiet kindness does more than the loudest action. Ramon smiled, and the world, just a little, changed.